Hi, this is Wes Fryer. It's November the 2nd, 2020, and this is a little tour that I created of some places in Mexico City, and around the country that I visited when I lived there in 1992 and 1993. So we're just starting out here at the airport because that's where I landed when I first flew to Mexico, and a lot of international flights that come into Mexico City, or that come into Mexico, land in Mexico City. When you're on a tour like this, you can click on the arrow here to go to your next scene. This is a scene from Polanco. Polanco is the name of the neighborhood where I lived, and this was taken, I don't know when, on a pretty amazing day when the visibility is terrific. When I lived there were about 20 million people in Mexico City. Now there are, I think, about 22 million, and the Valley of Mexico is extremely polluted, like horribly polluted. When I was living there, sometimes they'd have black flags out for the schools, and that meant that kids couldn't go outside at all. So this is a beautiful view of the city, and I was about 15 minutes away from the downtown area where the embassy was when I lived in Polanco. So this is a scene of the Cathedral, the Metropolitan Cathedral of Mexico City. You can actually navigate and go into, and around these different buildings and areas using Google Street View, which is just amazing. This was a cathedral that was built by the Spanish after the conquest in the early 1500s, literally on top of the Aztec temple. And the Aztecs believed that the sun god would continue to go across the sky when human beings were sacrificed each day. And so literally, kind of like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, they would remove the beating hearts of people from their bodies and sacrifice and kill them at this location. And so they've dug archaeologically down below the temple, and they have uncovered some of those ruins because literally the Spanish built their church on top of the Aztec temple. This is a scene from the valley of, or actually the pass of Cortes, which is just to the east of Mexico City. When Hernan Cortes in 1517, I think, landed in Veracruz, which is in the Gulf of Mexico, and made his way to Mexico City, this is where he passed through, and so that's why it's called the Pass of Cortes. And there are two volcanoes that border either side of the Pass of Cortes. This is the volcano called Popocatépetl, and it's a little over 17,000 feet high, and I climbed it. And the other mountain here is called Ixtaccíhuatl. And so I've actually put a little cool feature here where you can click on this and see a picture I took. So that's me in 1993 as I'm climbing the volcano Popo, and you can see the Pass of Cortes behind me, and this is the mountain Ixtaccíhuatl covered with snow, as it was on that spring day in 1993. And then similarly, when you click over here on the summit of Popo, you can see some smoke coming from the summit, and it was a dormant volcano at the time that we climbed it in 93. It erupted a number of years later and became an active volcano again. And so there is a photo of us. This is me and Rodolfo and Cuca at the summit of Popocatépetl, 17,802 feet above sea level, the highest point on planet Earth where I have ever walked. Now we're going north of Mexico City, and this is at a location called Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan was an ancient Mesoamerican city at the time. I think it was estimated to have about 125,000 people living in it, and for that time in Earth history, that would have made it about the sixth largest city. As I recall, when I visited the pyramids here, the builders of the pyramids were mysteries to archaeologists. It was not built by the Aztecs, and I don't even think it was built by the Mayan people. But these are definitely very impressive pyramids, and well worth your time to visit if you go to Mexico City. This scene is from the beach of Acapulco. Acapulco is on the Pacific side of Mexico. I have heard that it is extremely dangerous because of drug traffickers and narco-terrorists. At the time I was there, it was also very polluted. The bay here in Acapulco was real famous because you could You could dive down, and I think there was a famous mermaid that was down here at the mouth of the harbor that people would dive to, but it was getting pretty polluted, and then that was in 92 and 93. So this final scene is a much more, we would say, tranquilo beach, a tranquil beach. This is Puerto Escondido, and in the Christmas holidays of 1992, I spent Christmas here at Puerto Escondido with some friends and really had a wonderful time. A very different Christmas, but a very wonderful Christmas. And this is a much less touristy area than Acapulco and many of the other places that you've probably heard of on the coast of Mexico. Thanks for taking my tour.